Welcome to the Same Snob Podcast.
All right, I'll just use this. Whatever. Welcome, everybody, to the Snobs Podcast. I am your host, Mick Manhattan, as always, and we are late today, and that is my fault because I was out. I was in the middle of a pandemic watching a movie about basically a pandemic, one of the originals. I was out watching Night of the Living Dead, my first time back in a movie theater, and I had to race home to meet my guest co-host tonight. You may know him from such things as one of the hosts of Behind the Box podcast, also one of the hosts of Rob Paints the Movies. Some would say the important factor of the Scene Snobs, because
I would say that. No one else would, but I definitely say that.
You hear more talking everywhere else. That's actually got some talent in it. And frequent guest in the past on this show and 20-Minute Wrestling Podcast, which is no more, so don't even worry about that. Mr. Rob Gotcher, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing much.
That's like the longest I've ever gone for an introduction.
How was the movie?
I gotta tell you, we're gonna get into. Let's talk about the movie first before we get into our main topic of the night, but because they kind of go hand in hand. But being able to see it on the big screen was awesome. It was just a great experience because I love Night of the Living Dead so much.
Are you going to begrudge me that I really love the Tony Todd version?
No, it's a great version.
I prefer it just for his performance. I love his performance.
See, I'm opposite on that. I love Dwayne's performance in the original as Ben. Tony Todd was great, though. I don't take him away from him. But I didn't like Judith O'Dea's version. I can't remember the actress's name in the remake, but I liked her version of Barbara Moore.
I would agree. I would agree. I liked and I don't know who the guy is, but the guy who plays the paranoid guy who gets it in the end in the remake. I thought he was great as a villain.
I will say, as far as remakes go, it's one of the best in my opinion.
Do you prefer Dawn to Night of the Living Dead?
Yes. Well, all right. I love Night of the Living Dead more, and I think that's a nostalgia thing. But I love Dawn of the Dead. Like, Dawn of the Dead is just, that was my introduction to George Romero, was Dawn of the Dead. So I think that just going back and then watching Night of the Living Dead, I love the vibe of Night of the Living Dead more. But that being my introduction always holds a special place in my heart.
It was Bruiser for me. That was my first George Romero movie.
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a good one to go in.
I really like Bruiser, and we'll be talking about it tomorrow because it fits in. I feel it does.
I'm anxious to hear about that because tomorrow on Behind the Box podcast, we're talking like cult superhero comic book heroes, I guess I'll say.
I feel like he fits in the main character from Bruiser really well.
Yeah,
he's in a mask, and it's all, I don't know. It always felt like George Romero's like, all right, I'm gonna do a superhero movie, but it's gonna be messed up, like really messed up.
Yeah, it's such a good, and I saw that later in life too, which I think for me, it didn't have the same horror effect. Like, I wasn't scared of it, but I would definitely say that it was like it. I don't know. I guess maybe it might have resonated with me more thinking about it. Like, cause I imagine if I saw that as a kid, I probably wouldn't feel the same way about it.
Yeah, when I saw it, it was my first one, and I guess that's not true because Creepshow I had seen before.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I got into George Romero after Bruiser, where I was like, okay, let me see all the other stuff that he did because I really liked it, and I knew he had done that. No, I thought it. I mean, I like Night of the Living Dead too. I just like the remake better, and I guess that's not a surprise considering last week.
You know, I don't disagree with you on a lot of your. I definitely disagree with Batman, and I definitely disagree with Ghostbusters. But I don't. I know it comes off on Behind the Box, especially that I disagree with you greatly on things. But that's not so. That's not really the case. Like I do agree that like I said, Dawn of the Dead is a better movie, and he would tell you it's a better movie. And I think it was a more personal movie for him to make.
Well, he also started doing the metaphors, and that one wasn't so bad. I didn't mind the consumerism metaphor. The sad part is I liked the special effects in Land of the Dead, but I thought overall that's a bad zombie movie.
That's funny.
I love the look of it, but it was such a waste of Dennis Hopper. He could have done so much more.
But I liked him as the big conglomerate bad guy who kind of led things. Dennis Hopper had a really weird bravado to him to be able to pull like a villain off.
Yeah, he did. But we both know it's his best villain role, and I'm not talking about Blue Velvet. King Koopa. I mean, 100%.
Oh, God.
And don't say you forgot he was in that, because you didn't.
I didn't forget. I just didn't think about that movie. So when you said that, when you were like, well, we know his best performance. So my mind did not go especially right to Super Mario Brothers.
No, I've still never seen it all the way through. I've only seen bits and clips of Blue Velvet. I've heard it's great. I've never watched it all the way through.
He's really vicious in that movie.
But I don't know. Like for me, like every time I think Dennis Hopper, I think Speed, and I think King Koopa. Like that's who I think of when I think of Dennis Hopper. And he was good in Speed. God, he was good in Speed.
He was. I loved him in Speed. And I love the way he mimicked, because I never picked up on it until maybe a few years ago, how he was mimicking Jeff Daniels in the movie. When he would talk to him. And I was just
Hot quiz, hot shot.
Yep. And I never thought about that. I never thought about that until I watched it fairly recently. I was like, that's great, because he kept doing it too. Pop quiz, hot shot. Like that was perfect. But yeah, no, that's a good point.
The thing that I loved seeing Speed in the theaters, because I mean, theater experiences are really, really cool. I love theater experiences. But today we're talking about how theaters are now, and boy, is it different.
Maybe I should just bring you on as my co-host of this. You should just be on the Scene Snobs all week.
No, that's okay. I mean,
I know.
You've had so many other great guest hosts. I love watching, not just when you're with yourself, because it is great when you're talking with other people. And Fridays are great too.
Well, yeah, but you're better at segues than I am.
I would love to talk to you about that. I actually had a teacher in high school talk about when I would write papers. He's like, you do really well in the segues. Like you do a lot of different segue phrases. But yeah, isn't it? So tell me about your experience. I'll tell you about mine later, but how was yours?
Yeah, because you've gone back to the theater before me. I will say this. This was my first official reopening back in the theater. I've gone to a bunch of showings at the drive-in. I will say I did have a bit of an anxiety attack. And the thing is, I think it was because of what I was watching, if that makes sense. Watching a movie like this, where it's kind of, I don't want to say supernatural force, but it's some sort of force, something out there that's lurking, and kind of like in a pandemic, and being in a pandemic at the same time, and you're sitting in the theater with 40 people. That realization like popped in while I was watching it. And it's not that I was scared. I went to the Alamo Drafthouse in Winchester. That's where you've been going to. And I got to say, I'm very impressed with what they're doing. I felt safe. Everybody was in masks. I only took my mask off to eat and drink, and then I would put it right back on. And everybody else was doing the same. The wait staff was great. So I was okay with it. Like for my first time, like officially back in reopening, I was cool with it. But I will say that it did kind of, at some point, just watching that movie was kind of a surreal moment for me. And it threw me off.
It's definitely weird. So I've gone a couple of times. My most recent was Friday when I saw Relic.
Mm-hmm.
The Alamo, and you're right, the Alamo is impressive with what they've done. There are not too many people. One of the experiences I had, the people just immediately took their masks off when the lights went down. And they would, and I couldn't help it. I would just stare at them. Like, it ruined my movie experience because I'm like, come on, put your mask back up. But the Alamo's been really good about making sure that everybody's doing that now. They've definitely improved. Every day I've gone back, there's something else there. There's more hand sanitizer. There's the contactless payment, which is so smart, and I'm glad that they're doing. Just everything about it is getting better. So I felt safer. That being said, it's a weird experience sitting there because it's very spaced out, which is ironic because usually the Friday night shows, there were never that many people there.
Yeah.
There were more people there on a Friday night showing than I have ever seen. And maybe that's because people are just itching to get out and they've missed the movies and they really want to get out there. But it was weird. And I was very self-conscious about, all right, have the mask off, I grab it down, quickly shove a French fry in my mouth and bring it back up. Because it's just becoming second nature. But I didn't hate it. My wife isn't as keen on it. She went to a showing and she didn't really feel that comfortable. Yeah. She's having problems in bigger crowds. And I'm not going to begrudge her for that. She loves the Alamo. She loves Psycho Cinema and everything else like that. She's just wary. She does most of the shopping. So she's seeing people in Walmart with no mask on, just walking around. And the thing about masks, I mean, and everybody says it and all this other stuff, this is preaching to the choir or to people who aren't going to listen anyway. But masks aren't for us so that we don't get it. It's so that we don't give it out. And that's what bothers me. It's like when I'm driving on the road, for the most part, people are driving in the right lane. They're following stop signs and everything. They're doing that to keep themselves safe and everybody else safe. Why can't we do that with masks?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Having it on the entire time did not bother me. I was fine with it. It was just, I don't understand everybody's complaining. Was it comfortable? No, but it was kind of like wearing a loose turtleneck.
Uh-huh.
If that's in a weird way. Like, it wasn't even as tight as a tight turtleneck. It was like kind of wearing a loose turtleneck. I did have a weird run-in because I saw Faye, who runs Psycho Cinema, and she was there and she was hosting. And we go in and she's like, hey, what's going on? And she walks up, but I guess she was going around, and I went and gave her a hug. And I'm like, I was like, did I just give somebody a hug during a pandemic? What is wrong with me? But it wasn't even, because this is like my first real time out. I was in quarantine for the last 14 days. And it's just like
so hard to turn that off.
But I even lost that feeling just sitting there when it started. Like I said, it was about a half hour into the movie when it's officially setting in. And I'm like, oh my God, this is basically just like the pandemic. It's creeping all over, and we're kind of stuck inside, feeling claustrophobic. And it just like, that's when it kind of gave me that anxiety. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? Like, it's nice to turn it off and forget about something for a little while. But then when it creeps back in, it kind of hits you hard,
It does. And there's certain movies that I don't feel really allow for the escapism. And I would say a movie about everyone getting sick, dying, and trying to kill everybody else is it's a great movie. Maybe not the best choice. And it's like, I don't know if I've talked about it, but there's been some shorts on Psycho Cinema every now and then. And there was one called 5-Course Meal, and I will never forget it because it was the grossest short film I've ever seen, where two people just start eating all this food. Eventually they're eating slop off the floor, and it's just gross. And I'm at the Alamo stuffing my face and I remember their creme brulee French toast, because I love that. And I'm just eating it, and I go, nope. And I was done eating. I feel like if they had Contagion or a zombie movie, I would just be like, no, this is not what I need to see right now. I need to see, I don't know. Well, actually, Ghost of War. That's what I need to see, and I'm seeing that Friday. That's the kind of movie I need to see. World War II, something that happened and it's gone in ghosts. Something that won't hurt me.
Watch, it's going to be some weird pandemic ghosts too.
Oh no! Oh no! Like a possession movie would be bad too.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it.
Wasn't that what you just saw too with Relic?
Well, kind of. So I don't know if you posted my review or not.
No, it's coming out tomorrow.
But minor spoiler alert. So Relic, I don't know if it's a possession movie or not. I genuinely don't know. It seems like it could be. I mean, it could be demonic possession. It could be a ghost. It could just be black mold that changes people, or just dementia. It's a weird one. I left that theater very confused. I understand it a little bit better now. But man, that was a movie where I left, and I talked about it with my sister for a good hour, and it was late, and we could not stop talking about it. And for those of you who have seen it, that last 2 minutes is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in a movie ever. And I wish I could talk about it, but it's too soon. It just came out.
Yeah, that's fair. I gotta go back to like the movie going experience too. I didn't know what to expect, and I thought and I'm not gonna tear anything apart because I think everybody's trying, and like I'm all for it. The only time I would tear like a business apart is if I walked in and they just straight up aren't trying. They're like, nah, whatever, masks, who cares?
Right.
And Alamo is definitely not doing that. But I was going to the family drive-in for a while, like during this, and they were great. They were like my first two experiences going when they first opened up were great. They had you social distance. Nobody was really around each other. Everybody had masks on. It was great. And then as phases were we're going deeper into the phases, they were getting more lax, which I understand. That's not taking anything away from them. I get that they want to sell more tickets, and if it's opening up and you can, go for it.
Yep.
I'm just not comfortable with it. It's way too close, in my opinion. If I need to use the bathroom, like, it's a tough call, man. Like, there's a lot of people not wearing masks.
I won't use the bathroom in public places anymore.
Yeah.
I just won't. I will go before I leave, and I will hold it until I get home. I can't do it. I can't trust it. I've seen, before this pandemic, people not washing their hands. I can't imagine they've changed.
Yeah, and you know, that's a great point, because I went to the bathroom before I left because I don't want to take the chance to use a public restroom. And I will guarantee, I know that they're in there cleaning those restrooms like crazy at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And, so I trust that they are. I still don't. It's like, yeah, business, I trust you. I trust that you're doing a great job. I don't trust the people that are coming in, and I think that's really what this whole country has shown us, what's going to happen.
And the problem is, I get the other side of the argument. There are a lot of people that go, I can't live my life in fear. I have to be able to live my life. There aren't, when you look at the millions of people, are there that many people getting it right now? No, but that doesn't mean they won't. I understand the argument. I just don't agree with it. There's a big difference. But for my movie-going experience, I appreciated that what the Alamo's trying to do, and I think they're successful. My worry is if we all don't take it seriously, and it's not just us, but just society in general, we're going to roll back, and we're going to lose the ability to go back to the movies. I mean, California now doesn't have a movie theater, and several movies have been pushed back again. Like Tenet, I think, was coming out in August, and now they've cut that off, and that's coming out in 2021 no matter what. I don't want to lose the ability that by Christmas, if we hopefully have flattened the curve or gotten away from it, like the EU and things like that, where we could actually have some movies. That's what I want. I want to be able to go out. I want to feel safe to do that. I want kids to go back to school. But until then, I think it's going to be really hard to go to the movies. But the movie theaters are really trying. They're giving us some old favorites. Empire Strikes Back was one, and the drive-ins trying to as well. But from what I heard, the drive-in, not that it took a dip, but because they can get more people, people aren't being as safe outside because they feel like it's ventilated and they don't have to wear masks, which is not quite good. Just stay in your car. If you don't want to wear the mask, just stay in your car. That's a perfect thing to do.
Which was our thing. Like, we'll just go and stay in the car. It's not a big deal. We can bring food, we'll buy the food pass or whatever. But for us, it was like, it's like 2 movies that could be 4 or 5 hours long. If we have to use the bathroom, we might as well just leave. So, it's sad because it's kind of like, well, then what's the point? If like, I don't feel like I could safely go into a bathroom.
So that's why you don't. They have portable potties that you can bring for kids because I have one for my daughter, and you can use those. It's a little tiny toilet seat, and it works. Just have tinted windows in your car because you don't want people to see them.
I think I will just stay home. So, like for me, while now you've been back to what, 2 or 3 movies now?
2 or 3. 2 or 3, and it's been good. I mean, I feel comfortable there. I've gone with my stepfather and my sister and Christina. I'm just to some random events, and for the most part, we feel good. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to get better, but I do think there's going to be some type of peak or something, or plateau, where there's only so much that these places can do, and then that's it. With how people have been acting, I'm more worried about once people really start trying to rebel and be like, I'm not putting a mask on, what are you going to do about it? I mean, is the Alamo going to be kicking them out? I don't know, because there's been so many people that have been ruining grocery stores, getting into fights and everything else like that. I mean, yeah, it could be really harsh. So the easiest thing to do is just report those people for talking, and then, hey, they will get kicked out. So, but don't do that. That's not fair.
Well, yeah, that's a really good point too. It's like, at what point do we get to in movie theaters where we got to in supermarkets and things like that? Which for me, it's like, fine, you don't want to wear one at a restaurant. All right, I get it. I don't have to go to that restaurant where you are. If the restaurant's not going to kick you off. But, like, we have to go to, and the people have to work at a supermarket. That isn't a luxury. That's like, that needs to exist. That needs to be. You can't be a decent enough human being to wear a mask. Like, I get people at Walmart. That's why I try to stay out of Walmart as much as possible. That and many other reasons. But even Walmart's like, we're going to do the drive-in thing now. Like, really? People don't even wear masks. Now you're just gonna have to go there for hours.
The thing I will say is, like, no one's screaming at Costco. Costco was one of the first businesses to ensure masks need to be worn, and I saw people being told by the workers there to put their masks on or get out. Like, I mean, I've seen it. And you go into Costco now, I genuinely feel it's the safest place to go if you have to go to get groceries. There is no safer. They are still maintaining social distancing. They aren't policing the number of people, but they make sure everybody's got a mask on. There's no choice.
Good.
I appreciate that. I really, really do.
It's a different class of people, and it's not to put any certain person down, but like Walmart, you go into for free. You're not allowed, like, if they revoke your, like, it's a club. Costco is a club, so like you have to pay to get into, and if they revoke your pass, bye. Like, so right. They can kick you out for anything anyway and revoke your pass. So I think people are more used to that fact. But to go back to real quick to like the movies, do you think that it's more alluring? And now I understand they're doing it because there's a lot less content around these days, so they're showing a lot of older movies. I mean, they showed Night of the Living Dead. I was like, I'm there, you know. So that's like a big step for me to jump out and do that. Do you think that you're more inclined to go to older movies?
Well,
you actually just went to see a new one.
I mean, I have seen a couple of new ones, and the thing is, it depends on some of the older ones. Like, we had talked about Mandy. I know people love it. I am not a fan of Mandy. I wanted to support Psycho Cinema, and we see a lot of old stuff on Psycho Cinema. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing, and I'm not trying to do a plug for Psycho Cinema, but just it is what it is. They don't just do old ones. They do old deep cuts that I've never seen before. Those are the movies that, yeah, I will go to. And certain older ones that I have seen before that I would love to see in the theater. I missed Running Man, but I was really bummed that I didn't get to go to the Running Man showing. If they showed the Manitou again. I mean, yeah, I've seen it once, but I'll see that again in the theater.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. So, yeah, I'll see old stuff. I haven't gone to Empire Strikes Back or Spaceballs or anything like that. And the other reasoning is, I've just been spending time with my family. So I'd rather go, I'd like to go for the film club, like Psycho Cinema, because I want to support that. And what's really interesting, and I kind of mentioned it before, is those showings, like on Friday nights, those IFC midnights that used to be shown, I'd go there with my sister-in-law, and we would sit there, and we'd be like one of 4 people in the theater. Like those pictures, if you ever look in the back, there's like 4 to 7 people just standing there seeing movies like Bliss and things like that. But last Friday with Relic, that theater was as packed as it could have been. There were empty seats because there had to be, but it was, every 2 seats, there was somebody sitting in a group. I was really surprised, and I hope that keeps up because we need those things. Those Friday night showings are easier for me than the Tuesdays. I'll go to the Tuesdays, but I work. So it's, a Friday night, I'm there and I'll watch a movie. And I'm very excited, and I think we can talk about it since it's been released to everybody. I'm glad what they did with the sleepover.
Yeah.
I think doing 3 movies in a row, stopping, coming back the next day is better. My wife's still considering it. I'm going.
Yeah.
And she wants to go. We're just going to keep an eye on how things kind of progress up until August. But I like that the Alamo cares about us. That's the thing that I like about this more than anything. The Alamo as a business has shown that it really cares. Movie theaters like AMC and Regal and Cinemark all came out and said, we're not requiring masks. We don't care. That's just it. Sorry. We're not going to force people to do it. Mm-hmm. And they're not open.
Yeah, that's legit. Well, I think this Alamo in Winchester was the first Alamo to open too, and I think they were kind of like the testing point. I still don't even. I'm not 100% sure of what Alamos are open or not. I don't know if the ones in Texas are.
I don't know. I don't know if the one in Loudon is. I'm going to go to my hometown. Hometown now, but I would say that they proved that a theater can do it. But I think it also helps with reserved seating. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing that a lot of those other theaters, they don't have. So how do you enforce you can't sit next to somebody? How are they, what are they going to do? They're going to tell people. There were people that were still smoking in the AMC theater in Winchester. I would try to kick, I'm not trying to kick them out. There was a guy who was vaping, and I'm like telling the usher or whatever you call them, and they were just like, oh, well, every time I come out, he puts it away, so I don't see him doing it. So sorry. That kind of stuff.
Stand there,
Right.
It's ridiculous.
And wait.
I gotta. This Alamo is stuff I can't base it off of all the Alamos. I will say, they're probably all very similar in how they're handling things. That's why they're able to open. You're right, but. Yeah, it is crazy to see that other theaters aren't really doing it. I'm happy for the summer of the drive-in. I'm happy they're doing well. Drive-in deserves it, and I want them around for a very long time. But all drive-ins. But yeah, no, I just my first time back, I didn't feel like I was separated enough though, because like there was another guy sitting next to me, and so I picked my normal seat, which was the end seat in the fourth row. You know, you got my leg room there and everything because of the elevated. And then,
I thought you were always in the second row from the second row from the front.
If that seat's taken, I always go to second row.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. I don't know why. That's just like always been my go-to, because then I sit on the end. So if I had to go to the bathroom or something came up, I could roll out. But then I guess they set it up with social distancing, like you have to have a 1-seat buffer from the aisle. So I was in the second seat, which is fine. I didn't care about that. But it was like 2 spots and then another guy. And it just didn't feel far enough for me. And I know I'm nitpicking, and I don't blame Alamo for that. I don't blame any theater for that. It's just something I have to reassess. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the other problem, and this is not a dig. You were such a very tall person that I imagine 2 seats away doesn't really feel like you're that far. For me, it felt like a big enough buffer. But although I am a hefty man, I'm a really short guy, so I'm small, and I felt like it was far enough away. I did, but I will tell you about restaurants, though. I know it's getting a little bit off topic. I was really surprised that some of the restaurants that I've seen around here are being really good, and other restaurants are doing terrible. I will not badmouth the establishment, but I think they're only supposed to be 50% full right now, right?
I don't know. I think it's phase 3, so I'm not sure what they're doing.
So if phase 3 allows for 100% capacity with not a single person in the building wearing a mask, that is exactly what I walked into. Now, I don't really sit at restaurants anymore. I'm just doing takeout. So I went in for takeout to get the food, and everybody. Now, the wait staff was wearing masks, but that only stops the wait staff from giving it out, not getting it. Everybody, and there were people that didn't have food at their table. They just had the mask off. So that's scary to me. And I'm glad that people are taking it more seriously at theaters, and I hope that they do. Because the other thing that I would like to see come back in a limited capacity is things like concerts, and stuff like that. Case in point, I want to see that Lost Boys stage musical that I just heard about really badly. And I had never heard of it. And they were like, oh yeah, the soundtrack's been released for ages. I'm like, what?
Really?
So the soundtrack's out. I'm like, okay, I want to see it. So yeah, I want to be able to go back to plays. I mean, you're talking to a guy who saw Edward Scissorhands, the ballet, and that's not a joke. There's a ballet of it, and it's amazing.
I didn't know there was a ballet. I thought I heard that there might have been a movie, not a movie, a play of it.
It's a ballet, and during a dance scene, a woman is put on top of a washing machine to have a good time. I'm just saying, that's how funny that thing goes.
Yeah, they really went for it.
They really, really, really went for it. But yeah, so that's the kind of thing. I want plays to be open, but you're gonna have to do the same thing. You're gonna have to space out. You're gonna have to have the masks on. Obviously, the people on stage aren't gonna be able to do that, so you're not gonna have people front row. You can't. I'd love to see Hamilton one day, live. I mean, I've seen it on TV, but
I wonder if there would be a way for kind of like what they did with Hamilton, how they recorded it and made it very movie-like. I really enjoyed how they filmed that. I wonder if there's a way that they could do that for most Broadway plays, because Broadway's closed down to at least January. It's not opening up. But like maybe the cast can come back and safely do a version of the play that's filmed, and then strike up a deal for ticket sales with theaters and be like, will you show this? And then maybe make
I want to be sarcastic and just say you've just described movies, but
no,
I
know.
But I know what you mean.
There are no movies now.
Not like Cats. Anything but Cats.
See,
and you know what? Cats, and I'm just going to say this. Cats was not the creators of that movie's fault. Cats is a bad play. It's a bad play. I've seen it a lot. It's a bad play. Hairspray was amazing as a musical, and it was great as a musical movie. It didn't start out as a musical movie, but it was great as a musical.
You know, they did a really good job with that movie, though. They changed it up a bit from the musical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like the original too, the John Waters movie. But you're right, it is as a musical. They did a really great job.
And that's what, they could do that for plays and things like that, because they've shown those things a little bit. I think wasn't Ed Harris in To Kill a Mockingbird?
Yeah, he took over with Daniels.
Yeah, and I think they had broadcast that once. I think they did a live show where they could see. So yeah, I mean, you could probably do that, but it's also the actors have to feel comfortable being around each other because they can't be doing it in masks.
True, but I mean, at the same time too, like, there's always going to be an actor who's willing to take up the mantle. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
all right, I'll do it. And I agree. But I know they do it. They do it with the opera. They do it on the Regal. I think puts it out.
It's not Phantom, or is it Phantom? Like
Phantom,
starts with
yes,
that.
Phantom like experiences or whatever it is, or Fathom or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's Fathom. You're right.
So like they do plays. So I mean, it works, and people will go to a movie theater to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, we're starving for content. So who wouldn't want to see Ed Harris's Atticus Finch? You know what I mean?
Right.
In a play that we all, in a version of the movie that we all love.
What I would love to see is some of these movies that are coming straight to DVD, like, I don't know, Tremors 7, be like, hey, if you want to see it in the theater, because we know there's not a lot of content, go for it. Here's your Blu-ray, pop it in digital. You have no idea how bad I want to see that in the theater. Because I loved the latest two were actually really good. I thought they were the best of the sequels since number 2. Because I did like the second one, but I did not like the third or fourth. They were bad.
I'll say this though. I would love to see. Like, Netflix is still pumping out movies. They're still having. Like, mm-hmm. I think they filmed so much that they're going to have content all the way through this. It feels like.
Probably, but they're also canceling a lot too, which is really, really weird.
Yeah. Well, not for them. If their algorithm shows that it's gone too long for them, they'll cancel. They don't care. They base nothing on reviews or watches. They base it all on their algorithm of.
They killed Santa Clarita. You know what? That's fine for their TV shows. Just promise us from now on, if you're going to end a TV show, you're going to give everybody an end movie to wrap it up. Just give us that. It can't be that expensive to do a movie after that. It can't be.
Yeah.
And just build it into the actors' contracts. You're going to have to do an hour-long episode or an hour-and-a-half-long episode after this if we decide to cancel you. So sad, but hey, you'll get an ending. Because that show needed it. But yeah, the Netflix stuff, being able to see in the theaters would be nice too. I know Marriage Story got a theatrical release just so that it could qualify for the Oscars. But I think even the Oscars now have released that requirement for this year. Was it the Golden Globes or the Oscars?
I'd be surprised if it was the Oscars, but I mean, they could do it. It was probably the Golden Globes, but they have to. You're not going to have any nominees, or the nominees you do. Okay, Will Smith in Bad Boys for Life is up for best.
Hey, he could win.
He could win for the entanglement video that he did with his wife. He's not going to win for.
That wasn't acting. That was real.
He was so mad, and listen, I get it. That whole thing was just like, why are you guys doing this on camera?
You could tell he was so hurt and angered that he had to sit there, because I'm sure they went through problems and I'm sure they worked it out, because they said they worked it all out.
Yeah.
That's rough to have to put that out there. And it seemed like it was a surprise. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe he's a good actor. Well, not maybe, he is. But that's rough. And I think it's going to be Ted Hardy with Capone, but not because that was a good movie, because that wasn't. That was a bad movie. I liked the fact that it was Psycho Cinema at home, so I could watch it and support that. But that was a bad movie, and he's good in it, but it's a pointless movie.
Yeah, that
Did you watch it?
The Capone, yeah, I saw it. I saw it after they did the virtual talk. Like
the thing that weirded me out. This movie's been out for a while, and I know this is off topic, but I gotta know. Did you feel that the character played by Matt Dillon was introduced in such a way that it was not, it wasn't fair that the twist was he didn't exist or wasn't alive? Because the way they did it, Capone couldn't have known that he was sleeping with someone and then answering the phone. Like, there was no transition there to suggest that it was a hallucination.
My takeaway from all of it when it came, because I don't believe that guy was real at all in real life. Like, I think that was, like, I mean, I know he's not, but like, there's no version of him written down anywhere. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like, it was a Hollywood thing. But then with that movie, I know what they're trying to go for with dementia, or like, you know, his
right.
Losing his mind. It didn't come off well. So nothing in it, like when you're watching it, I'm like, his memories and like how they're kind of folding into each other and things like that. I'm like, okay. I was like, it's not, you're not even frightening me with it. You know what I mean? Like,
no, you're right. You're right. I also thought that the twist of Matt Dillon's character, Johnny or something like that, that should have been saved for the end too. That's not even halfway through the movie, you're just letting him know, hey, it's not real. You're supposed to be like, okay, the only constant in his life is this one friend. And that's when they pull the rug out for me at the end and go, nope, he was fake too. That's the better scene. That's the better scene.
How long did he last? I thought he did last closer to the end.
No, that you knew he wasn't real when Capone was talking to him on the porch, and his wife she goes, hey, do you want a drink? And he goes, I'm talking with my friend here. And she's like, yeah, whatever. And it pans back and there's no one in the chair. That's the moment that they show he's talking to no one. And that's less than halfway through the movie. That is ridiculous. It's like A Beautiful Mind. A Beautiful Mind was great about it because you didn't find out that all of his friends were fake. Well, all, you know, the important ones until really close to the end.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that. Did you watch Shirley?
No, I haven't seen that yet. How was it? See, so like, what's going to be nominated? That's what I need to know.
Well, here's the thing. Elizabeth Moss is actually great in that movie. They just don't go far enough. I was talking about it with my wife and I were talking about it with Christy Broy. They didn't go, like, they introduced a couple of different plot points, like a potential lesbian relationship between the main character and Shirley, but they don't go there. They kind of go there and then they just stop and it goes absolutely nowhere. So the movie looks like it's going to devolve into like this kind of like a weird romance kind of love affair and things like that. And there's a point to it. No, just goes away from that. But she's really good in the role. And I'm not a typical Elizabeth Moss fan. The last two movies I've seen, that and Invisible Man, she's knocked it out of the park. So I'm a fan now.
I can't stand her. Like, I can't stand her acting. I loved her in Invisible Man. I thought she was great in that. But for some reason, even Mad Men, all of her stuff, Handmaid's Tale, she was the reason I couldn't really watch that movie. There's something about her. I don't know what it is, but she always seems like she's just angry.
Yeah, I could see that. And maybe that's her acting or not. I don't know. I just thought her performance in both of those movies were so good. Now, I've watched The Handmaid's Tale. That's the most depressing show I've ever seen on television.
100%.
So I can't say I enjoy it. Like, oh, I love The Handmaid's Tale. Why? Why would anyone say they love that? It's an awful story. It's terrifying. So no, I just feel bad for her character, and I just can't get into it. But no, in Invisible Man, it's It's so good, and it reminded me of Demon Seed. So that's why I loved it so much. Doesn't it though? When you really look at it,
it does. It's very
close.
similar. Yeah, it's very similar in a way. Like, I mean, she's being gaslit, and that's what was going on in Demon Seed. Like, gaslighting her the whole time. Like, it's just so brutal.
And convincing her to have a baby, which is exactly what was in Invisible Man. Like, the whole thing, I'm like, wow, they just took Demon Seed. Like, that's a good way to go. I guess that's why I loved it. But
Are you gaslighting your wife? Stop. You tell me now.
No, not that anyone would know.
I can't
Better not tell anyone.
I can't gaslight my wife. She's smarter than I am. At least that's what she did.
Mine too. My 100% mine too. She's a medical professional.
She's made me think.
So kind of going back to all this, the movie theater experience throughout this has been so weird. Because it's not just going to the movie theater. I mean, we had Alamo at home for a while. These things are trying, when I say these things, these businesses are trying to entertain us through, in my lifetime, the weirdest and scariest time in my life. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
And they're trying. So I'm going to support them. I really will. And as long as they don't backslide and, then just get, screw it, everyone can come in. We're not going to do that anymore. If they keep that up, I'm hoping at least the mask thing until there's some kind of vaccine, until we are officially done with it. If they can keep that, I mean, I'm going to be a customer for life for them. I really will, because I appreciate it. Just like Costco, I'll pay. I'm happy to go.
Yeah, I mean, listen, hey, I want things to go back to normal as much as the next guy, but the only place I felt comfortable, I will say right now, which a good way to kind of circle back is with the Alamo having gone out. Like 2 weeks ago, I was in North Carolina, and being in that state the entire time, I did not feel comfortable. Basically, nobody was wearing masks. We stuck to ourselves, and we wore masks and everything like that. But I was like, nobody's wearing masks. Nobody's doing anything. They'll have masks on their ear. What the hell does that do? And this is outside just doing their thing. Like, I can't imagine being in a movie theater with people like that.
Yeah. And I mean, the worst part is, I mean, I've indirectly insulted family members. Like, we've had, for Violet's birthday, I mean, we had some people over, and I freaked out before everyone got over. And I was like, we all need to be in masks and stuff. This is dangerous. And it's not because I don't love them or anything else like that. I do. I would feel terrible if they got sick. And I'm sure the Alamo is looking at their customers the same way. I mean, you don't want an outbreak, because that's going to kill your business. So they're protecting. They're making sure. But other businesses like Hideaway Cafe does the exact same thing. Not plugging, just saying that there are some that are being safe, and they're being smart about it. So I'm hoping that the theater experience gets more fun, that we start getting some new movies out. It would be nice.
Yeah.
There's got to be some movies that they never thought they could release because no one would see them when there's a bunch of blockbusters out, that they're like, you know what, why not? Let's get some money. If Empire Strikes Back and Ghostbusters can clean up, and Jaws, can clean up in a week and get a few $1 million, why can't some of these straight to DVDs just go, okay, cool, let's do a theatrical release? Why not?
Yeah.
A Charles Band movie, like the Coronavirus Zombies that he already did and released. I don't know how.
I had a hard enough time sitting through Night of the Living Dead and not thinking about the pandemic. I don't think watching a movie called Coronavirus Zombies is going to do it for me in a movie theater.
You don't think so? You think that's a little in bad taste?
I think I'll have to walk out on that one. Not even go, really. Just be like, I'll watch this at home. No, I do too. So much in the industry is affected by it. They had that Zendaya and John Washington made a movie together, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It was like a quarantine movie that they wrote, they produced, if you look up their the rules they had on set just to stay safe during coronavirus, it's like that's militant type safety precautions, which was fantastic, and they got it done. and nobody's, they finished it, I think, on like July 6th. So like we'll find out in a couple of weeks if there's any, anybody. But anybody who was there for like a month was already under lock and key. If you're going to be a crew member, you're going to be cast on this, you are quarantined to the place, to the 33-acre land that was completely to themselves.
I think that's smart.
Oh yeah, and they did it the right way, and they went about it, and anybody who wanted to be a part of it, and they only had like a 12-person crew at any given time was allowed on set, and I think that included the 2 actors. And it's supposed to be like a marriage story type, but I think it's supposed to be done with the backdrop of like the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement. So it will be interesting to see how they do it, especially with those actors and as good as they are. But then you fast forward, and Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, the new one, Dominion, comes back, and you find out I think there's like 20 people on their crew who have coronavirus. They're shooting for 5 days, and then you find out that 20 members of the crew. So yeah, it's somebody's going to ruin it for everybody. Everywhere you go, every restaurant you go to, somebody's going to try and ruin it for everybody. And like for Jurassic World, like I understand that's a huge production, and I want to see that movie, so I do not want it to go away. But man, like, do you really think right now is the time to come back with that one, studio? Like, you can't come back with something smaller that maybe you can test your precautions out on?
Well, I thought all the dinosaurs were CG anyway, so what are there, like 2 actors in the whole movie? I mean, really?
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you right now, if anything happens to Laura Dern, I'm going to be angry.
That's chaos theory for you, though. I mean, what do you do?
That's fair. And Ian Malcolm was on set, so that tells you something. I guess none of the casts got sick, which is good. But, I mean, 20 members of your crew on a big production like that. And that's just who you know about now.
I think that just goes to prove that actors don't interact with the crew, and I think that's ridiculous. I think they're all one team, and if they should have gotten sick too. That's all I'm saying. They should have been eating from the same tables. No, I hope no one gets seriously ill from that, and that's terrifying too. Because we've had at my work, we've had 2 people test positive, not on my floor but elsewhere, and it's scary. So I can imagine if you're on set and you find out that the lighting guy or the person who's holding your boom mic comes down with it, like, you're gonna be freaking out for the next 2 weeks.
Were you all eating lunch together? How's that work? Like, I don't know what their precautions were during all of this stuff. And I know they put out the rules. In the UK, it's a little bit different how they kind of have their rules going right now. But man, you see a lot of these like television productions shutting down after a week, and just like, okay, we're gonna refigure some things and be back. Like, I hate to see this keep going on where it keeps ruining it for everybody. But it's kind of like I said, somebody's always going to ruin it. Like Florida ruins it for the rest of the country. And
I mean, California wasn't far behind.
Yeah, the fact that they had to shut everything down again, and now Northam, our Virginia governor, comes out and says, I'll go back to phase 1 if I have to. Like, that's just what it will be.
I appreciate our leadership on the state level, because I do think that we've been good-ish. I thought he's made some smart decisions. It's not a political thing, but I do. And I like the fact that Northern Virginia is still going down.
No.
And that's where most of the people are. I'm sorry? Well, no, he said Hampton Roads is going up, but actual, like, Loudoun and Fairfax over the last 2 weeks has gone a downward trend. But Virginia overall has gone back up. But Northern Virginia, where most of the people are, they are still getting cases, but it's still on a slightly downward trend.
I believe Arlington went back up.
Yeah. I hope that it just stays that way. That Virginia's smart. I can't say anything about any other state, and I'm not leaving the state. I've refused. And I only go to Northern Virginia when I have to, which is work.
Yeah. I mean, at least they're taking precautions there, though. So
Mm-hmm.
it all kind of
Yeah.
works out in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to be going to a world premiere of Remnants. Our friends Matt Burns, who's a friend of this show, and Mark Byrne, who directed the movie, who was on the CSUP showcase last week. Yeah, they're having a world premiere this Saturday, July 18th. So
I'm excited about it, but it's just because it came out with Ghost of War, which my whole family got like excited about that movie. That trailer is amazing.
I get it.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, if I can get permission for 2 movies, I will definitely say Remnant. I really will. I'm happy to support people that are local and part of the community and stuff like that. So yeah, I want to support it. I hope most people do.
Oh yeah. And if anybody who's watching feels comfortable, go pick up a ticket and go watch the movie. And go check out the Scene Snub Showcase where they all were. But yeah, with that being said, what do you got going on this week, bud?
So we've got our discussion tomorrow, which we've already talked about.
Yeah.
I got Rob Paints the Movies on Thursday, where your son has chosen a very cool villain. Not from the best movie that this villain was in. I'd actually rank it as the second worst one, but it's Tommy's favorite, and that's all that matters.
Can you see it? It's right there.
I can't. And that's the problem.
I can't even do
Don't
it.
give clues.
3 posters there. They don't know.
But that's the thing. I'm excited. I'm excited to do that. So that'll be fun. That'll be on YouTube. Friday, you've got your showcase, but I will most likely miss it since I will be hopefully sitting in a theater watching a bunch of soldiers kill ghost Nazis, which I really hope is what happens.
My favorite thing is I have no guests. My guests have had to postpone this week, so like I will have to figure out who to get on the show, which will be interesting.
You should just like a guerrilla tape, just like the Alamo, just like show up and be like tape people to theater. Be like, hey, you want to be on the show?
Let's stand 3 feet apart. Let's just break it up. Break up the monotony. No masks. I want to see your faces.
I'm still trying to figure out if there's any way, and I'm hoping Lori and I have talked about this. Hopefully, doing one of the Rob Paints the Movies where we're both painting the same thing. Mm-hmm. We just got to figure out logistics because I want people to be safe. Now, if it's outside and open, and we had like a wide camera angle, that probably would work. But yeah, we're trying to figure that. So eventually that'll happen, but I don't know how many weeks.
If you need Zoom, let me know. We'll do it on Zoom.
Actually, that's a smart idea.
So you two can be up, and I'll stay in the corner eating popcorn. Like, what are you painting? What are you painting? Tell me what you're painting.
Just throwing popcorn at both of us, just distracting us. Physical challenge. Yeah. So, and then next week, same deal. I'm going to be off work. So my wife and I are taking a stay home vacation, like a staycation. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
So we're going to be spending time with Violet. Might go to the Shenandoah Museum. They have some bug exhibit of like these big metal sculpture bugs. So like you can walk outside in a garden. So stuff that's safe and local, and we can just try to have a little bit of fun. What about you? What do you got going on?
Too many shows. I got tomorrow night with Behind the Box. We plug that, but make sure you watch 7:30 p.m. live here on the Snobs channel. Give us a subscribe and like. Then Thursday, watching your show. That's generally what I do. I edit and watch your show. And then Friday, still looking to book some guests to be on the show. But it's the Snobs showcase at 9 p.m. on the YouTube channel. So that's open to anybody who wants to join in. And then I take my weekends off. I'll just be probably editing reviews. That's about it. So.
What reviews do we have coming up?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I just posted the Palm Springs review yesterday. Go check that out. We have one for King of Staten Island, one for Hamilton, which was done by Len, and one for The Wrong Missy, which was done by Lori, which are all up now. Tomorrow, Rob's review of Relic is coming out. And Thursday, my review of The Old Guard.
And Lori's doing Beach House soon, right?
Yes, hopefully. Oh, wait, no, yeah, I think she sent it to me, so I have to edit it.
Yep, and I will make sure to at least do the Ghost of War one on Friday.
Yep.
And are you doing the one for Remnant? Are we allowed to do a review?
Is the case, yes. Oh, no. Yeah, we'll be doing one for Remnant. That will be next week. Sorry, there's so many. I'm so confused. We'll be doing one for Remnant, but there's going to be one for Psych 2, which premieres tomorrow.
Oh.
So maybe that might be Thursday, and then The Old Guard will be on Friday. But The Old Guard is definitely, I'll give you a sneak peek. Go watch it. It was good.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about that one. Netflix does have some pretty darn good movies, but I need my Stranger Things back. That's what I need.
Well, I think they finished filming. So
put it out. Give it to me so I have something to watch for a day, because I know I'll binge it in one day and then be done. Like Tiger King.
If I remember correctly, because it came out last year, they said it's not going to come out till 2021. So I don't know.
We need it. Netflix, save us. But yeah, and I think this next week will be fun. The reviews are coming out a lot faster than they were before.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited too. I'm glad you guys are doing the reviews. I like your takes on a lot of things. So if you notice, it's the Scene Snob reviews when I do one, but it's the Scene Snobs review when you guys do them.
So that actually, and I know that we're reviewing Batman 66 tomorrow.
Yes, that was our recommendation from Lori last week.
Is it Len's pick for a movie?
Well, I was going to run that by you guys and see if you were interested in keep kind of going with the rotation, or do we shuffle it now? Do we pick a name out of a hat or something?
Either way, I've got my next suggestion. I'm going for it this time.
I do too. I picked one out. I want everybody to see.
I figured if I got by with Demon Seed, and I was surprised, all three of you thought it was a good choice. I was like, okay, then we're going for a one. Not that's a bad choice, but it's definitely a deeper cut. And you've seen a still from it. If you saw it on my Facebook, you saw a still from this movie.
Oh, was that your first one?
Second one.
Oh boy.
And I do not know any person who knows that. I really don't know anyone who goes, oh, I know that movie. There's no way. There's absolutely no way.
I don't know. I don't remember what the second one was.
It's a lady sitting in a chair. That's all it is.
It's just a lady sitting. I don't know.
It's a lady sitting in a chair. I cannot give more away because, and I will say this, she is the weirdest representation of whatever she is in movie history. And I mean that in all sincerity. And when you see the movie, be like, yeah, that's really weird. Why does she look like that? Why is she sitting in a chair? So many questions. No answers.
Oh, I know what that is.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Well,
what is it?
I'm not going to say it on here.
No, what do you think it is? I'm curious.
I know what it is. I can't tell you.
You don't know.
I do. Direct to video, baby. I think I don't know my direct to videos.
It might be. I think it was. We've talked about this, but you haven't seen it.
I had you for a second, though. You thought
you don't know.
I'm going to find out. I'm gonna
yeah, well, you're going to if it's my choice next week.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Well, names out of the house.
But Len's if we're going the rotation, then it'll be Len's. I can't wait for what Len shows us because I love Deep Red. I thought Deep Red was an amazing film.
Yeah, Len really he pulls it out of the hat when he picks, so it's a lot of fun. I never know what he's going to go with, like, because he'll give recommendations just on the side sometimes, and like he's like, hey, check this out. I'm like, where the hell did you figure that one out? Come on. Like,
The Thing. What's that movie? Ugh.
Oh no, that will never be one. Even though it is a cult classic and fits in. But
it's universally beloved now. Like, I don't know anyone who's like, I don't like that movie. Like, if you've seen it, you love it.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. So I am excited to see what his pick is for tomorrow, if it's him. If not, I have one that I think will really blow you away. Especially, I think everybody will like it, but I think you'll watch it and be like, "How have I not watched this movie before?"
It's Sleepaway Camp 3. I already know. I can read your mind.
Listen, all right, don't put down Sleepaway Camp 3. See,
I haven't seen it yet. I need to see it.
You know what bugs me about you, Rob? You're giving me crap for Sleepaway Camp 3 and liking 2 and 3 more than 1, and then you're over here with Ghostbusters 2 and Batman Returns.
Let's just say one thing, and I want to make this clear. I love the original Batman and the original Ghostbusters, but I love their sequels more. It's not that I don't love them. It's like they're children. It's not that I don't love them both. I just have a favorite. And luckily, since I have an only child, she's my favorite. I don't have to pick. But that's the thing. But just when it comes down to it, and I'm sorry, I do. But you know what? I don't have a Ghostbusters painting. I have a Slimer painting from the real Ghostbusters cartoon. And you know what? As a kid, I might say I love that better. But that's because I grew up watching the Ghostbusters cartoon show before I could see the movie. My mom would not let me see the movie until I was like 9 or 10.
Well, did she let you watch the piece of crap sequel when it came out?
No. Like, I didn't get to. The only reason why I saw the Ghostbusters movie is because I loved the cartoon show. I had all the toys and everything else like that. Oh, yeah. I got into it that way. That's how I got into it. So Slimer's on my wall, but I do need a Ghostbusters 2 painting. I need Janosch Poha at some point. So whoever wins this week, just choose Janosch, please, and it'll be a surprise for everyone next week.
Oh, that'll be great. Yeah, nobody watches this show anyway, so I'm okay with it.
They'll watch it. They will.
Well, I will say that they do listen to it. I get a lot of podcast listens, but I do not get a lot of watches on the YouTube channel. We're getting there. I'm no Rob Paints the Movies, which proves
you could be. All you need to do is practice. I did this in 2 years. 2 years.
I'm not an artist, but I appreciate it, and that's why I like having you on the show, dude. Because you're very kind. You compliment, and then you tear me down with your bullshit choices of Batman Returns and Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, well, I haven't brought it up in a while, but your distaste for color is something that I will never understand.
All right. First of all, in this climate of this country, let's say color of space.
It's color out of space. Yes, that's what I meant. I should have said of the color. The color out of space is what we're talking about.
Yep.
And I do not understand. Maybe I built it up too much. I think I did.
It was terrible. No, it's not terrible. It's just, it wasn't. I didn't like The Void, though.
The Void? I don't think I've seen The Void.
Oh, that's right up your alley, dude, for H.P. Lovecraft. Well, I shouldn't say that either. I appreciated The Void. I didn't really enjoy it, though. But you should watch The Void. That's straight up Lovecraftian. I'll give
it a listen or a watch, I guess, not a listen.
You might even like it more than A Color Out of Space.
It's hard to say that. I love the look of that movie. It's just a beautifully shot movie. I love that movie so much.
Yeah, The Void was a cool looking movie, but yeah, The Color Out of Space was definitely a better looking movie. Might be the same guy who directed it. I wonder.
I'll have to take. I will give it a go.
I don't know who directed The Color Out of Space.
Was it Richard Stanley?
Oh, I think you're right. I think it was Richard Stanley. And I don't know if he directed The Void. That might have been.
No, I remember something. So you'd have to tell me because you would know and I wouldn't. What happened to Richard Stanley's career that all of a sudden? Because I know The Color was his big return. So what happened? Because I guess I missed it.
What the hell did he direct before? I can't remember.
Wasn't he replaced on a movie? I think that's what it was. He was like doing a movie, and then they replaced him.
That's very possible. That happens to a lot of directors, though. Oh, he directed Hardware. Oof. And the Island, Dr. Moreau.
Oh, that's the one. That's the one where he did part of it, and then they were like, get out of here.
Damn. Yeah, no,
I actually liked The Island of Dr. Moreau. I liked Val Kilmer in it. I thought he was good.
Val Kilmer's the man in everything. He really is.
We'll see how he is in Top Gun 2. He had to beg to get on it, so I hope he does a good performance.
God, that drives me nuts so much that he had to beg to get on that movie.
I think it's because he doesn't look like himself anymore.
No, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's like that dude is giving some performances of a lifetime. You know, his Doctor is still one of the best characters of all time.
It is, and the only thing I don't like about it is it overshadowed Dennis Quaid's version of Doc Holliday, which was good for completely different reasons.
All right, listen, Rob.
But not as good. Tombstone is my favorite Western of all time. The only thing I'm saying is that Val Kilmer was so good, anybody else who ever played Doc Holliday just doesn't look good.
No.
But Dennis Quaid's performance was good.
No, I agree.
It wasn't anywhere close to that level. He just set the bar really high.
I mean, I like Wyatt Earp. I'll watch Wyatt Earp. I think
it's not Tombstone. It's just not Tombstone. It's like Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday was the Michael Phelps of Doc Holliday's. No one's ever going to beat it.
That's for damn sure. And on that note, nobody's ever going to beat this episode. And join me next week because I have a new co-host. So this has been the Seen Snobs podcast. Remember, give us a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, because we have many, many more. And if only you're going to give me a subscribe, give it for Rob Paints the Movies.
Give it for Behind the Box, because Lori, Len, you, and I have a ton of fun. Yeah,
we have a really good time with that one. And I'm looking forward to it. I think working with you guys on that has, because I don't know if you remember the story of the Seen Snobs podcast. This is the first podcast that came out. And it's actually ties into what we were talking about tonight. It was the first podcast to come out of the Seen Snobs, and I had a co-host.
I remember.
And then he did like 2 or 3 episodes and then just ghosted. And this is a guy I had known for years. For years.
I just don't understand why. Like, it's easy to say, hey, I'm not digging it.
He was my co-host on Mystery Elephant, which was the last podcast that I worked on. So, like, when he ghosted, I was just like, all right, I guess you're not coming back then. And I just kept going because I was like, I'm, full steam ahead, like, just keep working. So it was just me for a long time. And then working with you guys, actually, real quick sidebar, our very first episode, the video, because we weren't shooting video at the time, is Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, wow.
While you listen to the video and listen to us talk, you're watching Night of the Living Dead. It was public domain, so I could put it up.
That's pretty cool.
So it kind of ties into what we were doing tonight. But, yeah, I started doing guest co-hosts on this just to get, because I like the banter. I like having people talk. So I don't know that I'm looking for a co-host, but I'm keeping my options open as I go.
Well, I remember the only reason why I started on this in the first place is thanks to Faye, because you had asked her publicly in Psycho Cinema, like, hey, would you want to do this? She's like, I don't know. Anybody else? And I'm like, I don't have a great voice, but I'll try it.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And dude, it was so funny. Yeah, she was like not into it, which I get. I mean, I fully understand. She's told me time and time again. It's funny because I'll ask her like every 3 months. I'm like, why don't you come on as a guest on the show? And she'll be like, it's not really for me. I just don't like doing it. And I respect that. And I'm like, okay, no obligation. I mean, I'm not going to hold you to anything. And then she'll do a guest spot on another podcast because they really badgered her about it. So she did it. And I was like, and she feels so bad. She'll message me and be like, I'm so sorry. I did this other podcast. And I'm like, relax. It's not a big deal. I get that you're sought after because she's smart and she knows a lot about movies.
I will say the podcast, and I've only heard the one, but it was right after Joe Bob Briggs had come by, and she talked a little bit about that on a podcast with like most interesting people or something like that.
Yeah.
I was enthralled. I couldn't put it down. I was in my car halfway through, and I finished driving home after an hour, and I sat in my car for the other 20 minutes because I just did not want to stop listening.
Well, like I said, I'm going to try and see if she wants to come on the Behind the Box podcast to talk about, because she knows cult movies like crazy. So I'd love to hear more about like her thoughts on certain things and her recommendations. Like, in fact, if she does come on the show, I think that week I want her to give us a recommendation rather than us. You know what I mean? And then we'll take it, review it. So that'll be interesting. And I am looking to get more guests on that we can interview and talk to.
Yeah, no, I think Faye's good enough that she should have like a film club or something where she gets like a bunch of people to watch stuff she suggests. I think she'd be great at it.
I wonder what we'd call it.
I don't know. I like your camera because it's not backwards. I gotta find a camera that isn't backwards because mine's are all am and Nick O is sip whatever it's called. But yeah, no, I have to thank her for that one. And then, you know, we had Lori talking one time and she added in. That was Behind the Box, definitely became awesome. Although I missed the wrestling podcast, but I haven't really watched wrestling at all. I can't do it.
Yeah, with everything that happened and like just how storylines have been going, you know, I've just been like, I can't sustain it. Len and I have talked about doing a fantasy football type one or sports one, so we'll see. I don't know if I'm overextended as it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are. That's why you need more people to do more shows.
I definitely do. I love Thursday nights being off. Are you kidding me? I'm like, it's Rob's turn.
Christina and I have a lot of fun doing it, and that's the one thing we really do love when people join in the conversation. It's not just really about getting watchers. It's just we like to talk. It's the week's winding down. You've only got maybe one day of work left.
Yeah.
And we just do want to talk, and yeah, and eventually we'll probably start giving away paintings, but that'll be a while. But eventually we will.
Don't kill yourself on that. It'll be fun. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. I had a fun time tonight talking about it, especially our feelings about going back to the movies.
Definitely.
I wanted to get your opinion on it, even though we talk off screen all the time, but I figure on screen, let's talk about this. We saved one too. We didn't really even talk about it off screen. We were like, let's save it for cameras.
Right.
So that was good, but I wanted to get back into the theater first to be able to have like something to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I appreciate you coming on. You know, you're always welcome to jump on this show or any other show. I mean, you're already on too. So,
I give you enough of my week.
You do.
But yeah, no,
you do. No obligation. This was I appreciate you coming on tonight, though.
I was happy to do it. I really was. And thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me a part of the Scene Snobs. And yeah, it's I'll get a little sappy.
Don't get sappy.
If you cry, I'll cry. No, it's awesome, and I'm just excited about the YouTube stuff. The fact that we're on YouTube now, and the little clips you've been doing.
Yeah.
Are great.
Yeah, I have to figure out something like for this one. Like, what are we gonna? No,
I'll keep saying stupid stuff that people don't like. If that's gonna help.
But you believe it, Ghostbusters.
I do believe it. It's not trolling. That's the thing. Like they're like, this guy doesn't believe what he's saying. It's like, no, wholeheartedly believe that stuff.
Dude, I facepalmed so hard in last week's episode when you said go, because like I was like, oh man, you're already putting down Batman, but whatever. I kind of get it. Still Tim Burton. You know, I was like, I kind of get how somebody could like it more. And then you said Ghostbusters 2, and I was just
Ghostbusters 2 still Ivan Reitman. Here's the thing you're not gonna like. What if the new one is amazing? I mean, because Jason Reitman's really good, and it's the original cast is there, and it's got Paul Rudd, and he's really, really good. But it's got the Stranger Things kid who is in a bunch of horror stuff now, and I hated him since I saw him in The Lodge. So he's lost his luster. That movie was awful.
Well, I want it to be really good. So I really, I am pulling for Ghostbusters, the Afterlife. So hopefully we'll see though.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
all right, I've taken up enough of your time. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna kiss the little one because I heard Cats in the Cradle on the way home, and I was like, I must kiss. Because of course I'm racing home and Cats in the Cradle comes on. And anybody who's a father and doesn't think that Cats in the Cradle is effective, you're an idiot.
That's a song that just makes you cry. It doesn't matter who you are.
Oh my God. All right. Until next time, this has been the Scene Snobs Podcast Live with my special guest host this week, Mr. Rob Gotcher. I know you like him more than me, so I'll make sure he gets back on the show.
I got that.
But next week, I have a very special guest, and I will announce that coming up this weekend. So it'll be a lot of fun. He's a big movie fan, and he was a big fan of visiting the show and talking when we were live on Facebook. So
it's Jack, isn't it?
No, he just talked during the show. He didn't talk about it. So and that'll be fun. And then I'm lining up some more guests as we go. But great times there. Go check out our old shows. Make sure you go check out Rob Paints the Movies and Behind the Box podcast. Still have some spaces available for the Scene Snobs showcase on Friday night. The next week is booked up, but we'll go from there. But until next time, make sure you're checking out the Scene Snob reviews as well. Give us a subscribe and hit that notifications button. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great night.